And welcome into another episode of Dan and Tony Sports. My name is Dan Snyder, joined tonight, for the time being, by Dan Beebe. Dan, the Dan Duet, part 2. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good, you?
I'm doing a lot better than Ben Roethlisberger.
Indeed.
I mean, he's got more money than me, so maybe not, but
both your arms are intact.
Both my arms are intact. That is correct. Dan, we got a big show tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We've got a bunch of injuries that, frankly, we need to discuss.
Yeah.
Some people missing time for things that aren't injuries, like mononucleosis.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who, for one reason or another, should be playing football, but aren't.
God damn.
We're going to talk about a lot of NFL and college football. Obviously, that's our forte. We've got the top 25 games from the past weekend to go over. Yep. We've got the NFL games from the past weekend to go over. We've got to make our picks.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're also going to have some overreactions that we've come up with for, the NFL, the first 2 weeks of the season. So what do you say we get started by talking about some of these sad sacks of skin that are missing game time this week?
Let's do it.
All right, so I think the one that really causes the biggest problem for the NFL is Drew Brees, because the Saints are really they're Super Bowl contenders.
They are, absolutely.
Kamara,
Michael Thomas, a lot of big names that don't have their under center right now.
Yeah, the biggest sigh of relief for the next 6 teams to play the Saints, because you're probably going to get a win, as they've announced that they're going to split time between quarterbacks Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. But let's get everything that led up to this injury. So Sunday, the Saints played the Rams. Great game in a rematch of the NFC Championship from last season.
Yep.
Aaron Donald gets up in Drew Brees' face and tears some ligaments in his thumb.
Yep.
Drew Brees is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, which is rough for the Saints because they're going to have a lot of work that they really need to put in after these 6 weeks.
I mean, we knew it was bad when we saw him walk right over to the sideline and couldn't even grip the football.
He doesn't do that. That's not what Drew Brees does. Yeah, so you're right. We could tell it was bad, but let's just go through their schedule. So far, they're 1-1. Their one win being against the Texans in that thrilling Week 1 victory, that 58-yard field goal.
Yeah.
And then they lost to the Rams 27-9. It doesn't get easier. They play the Seahawks next week.
They look pretty energetic this past week.
Yeah.
Seattle. Yep.
The Cowboys will be coming essentially off of a bye.
Ouchies.
Yeah.
You got your boy Dak under center. It's only spelling problems.
Yeah, and Ezekiel, I mean, he's not on the defense, but Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill are going to have some real problems when DeMarcus Lawrence, not Dexter Lawrence.
Yep.
When DeMarcus Lawrence, Malik Collins, Robert Quinn, Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, all really come after them.
Are you doing a happy prediction there? Oh, you said Smith. I'm sorry. I was thinking Jalen Ramsey. Where's he going to end up? But
we'll talk about him in a little bit. But so after the Cowboys, they have the Buccaneers, the Jaguars, then the Bears, and then the Cardinals.
I mean, I could see them winning the Jacksonville game. I'm not even quite sure they could take Tampa Bay.
I don't know. I'm not very high on Tampa Bay.
I feel like they're going to be like a unique spoiler. Like, I mean, you saw what they did to Carolina this past week.
I also don't think Carolina's that good anymore.
I mean, they do have Christian McCaffrey.
And he's looked not great in his 2 weeks. The Panthers 0-2. Christian McCaffrey.
Less than
the 1
expectations.
The 1 week fantasy wise was fantastic. The second week he was pretty much non-existent.
Especially at the end of that game there, where he went to stretch for the score and came up short of the marker. So I mean,
that play call didn't make sense.
No.
I don't remember if they had a timeout or not.
The pitch left, yep.
But when they saw that, what's his name? The corner wasn't following DJ Moore
yep.
across the formation and saw that he was standing there. If they had a timeout, they should have just called a timeout and picked a new play. Also, instead of trying to get completely to the outside, if he had just cut in a little bit sooner, he probably gets that first down. But again, when you're running, you don't always see that kind of stuff. Like, that's hindsight's 20/20, right?
Your hindsight is 20/20. Your momentum's carrying you the whole way, and
Yeah, it's easy for my fat ass to say sitting on this couch, But I think that
I'm curious because I know, like for a fact, I did actually bypass a couple top picks to get to him in fantasy drafts, and thinking he would, was the way he's just built up, body strength over this offseason. I thought he was going to be something to really break through, but a little bit remains to be seen here.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm not sold on Christian McCaffrey completely, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Drew Brees.
Yep.
So after those games, if it is the full 6 weeks, the 6th week is the Cardinals. Then they have a bye week.
Yep.
So say he comes back on time. He's then back in time for Falcons, Buccaneers, Panthers, Falcons, 49ers, Colts, Titans, Panthers. Which is the easier part of their schedule, if you ask me. Yeah, because the Texans, Rams, Seahawks, Cowboys, Bears, Jaguars, they front-loaded that schedule.
Right.
Oh, man.
It's almost like they knew something was going to go down here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, say he does come back, I could see them beating the Falcons. I could see them beating the Bucs with him. Panthers, I could see it. Of course, these are all divisional matchups, so we always tend to, I guess, over-exaggerate a little bit. Sometimes they're closer than we expect. Falcons, 49ers, Colts, Titans. I mean, they should all be
winnable games.
Yeah, at least manageable. Maybe you got 1 or 2 losses in there, maybe tops, if you think about it.
Yeah, and so let's say that they sweep that.
Yep.
It's not like these next 6 games, any of them are unwinnable.
Right.
I don't see them beating the Seahawks. I don't see them beating the Cowboys. They could beat the Buccaneers. They could beat the Jaguars. They could beat the Cardinals. If the Bears are calling offensive plays like they have been, they could beat the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of easy to carve around them, I would say, for sure.
Looking at their schedule now, with the amount of talent they have on the team, I don't see why they shouldn't even be worried, really.
Yeah, because who do they really have to worry about division-wise? They're not.
They don't.
Who's going to give them the most problem? Maybe the Falcons.
Maybe the Falcons.
We've seen them. They're kind of exploited a little bit as well.
They didn't look great against the Eagles, and the Eagles didn't look great against them, which makes me pretty fucking happy.
Yeah. We know how much you hate Philly, so.
Oh, I fucking hate Philly. But anyways, so those are the games that he is quote-unquote scheduled to miss. Seahawks, Cowboys, Buccaneers, Jaguars. Maybe comes back for Bears, Cardinals. It said 4 to 6 weeks. We don't know. I would expect him to be out the full 6.
Just to be safe.
Yeah.
You can keep him on the mends. And
especially if you get, in those 4 games, if you get 2 or 3 wins. So, like, let's say they do beat the Buccaneers and they beat the Jaguars. I mean, the Bears have a ferocious defense. Don't put him back in.
Right.
Just absorb that L and then keep him out for the Cardinals. They're going to beat the Cardinals, most likely.
And a lot of the reports I heard too is that people seem to think, I mean, now being that it's going to be a split between the 2 backup QBs, that Teddy Bridgewater could probably get them 500.
Maybe. It's been a while since he's really actually played, so we'll have to see how he...
He didn't look too impressive when he had to come in.
He didn't. They also don't have a great offensive line, and they haven't been practicing his style of play.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense for him or Taysom Hill to really have had success mid-game, because that offense is tailor-made to fit Drew Brees.
Absolutely. Yep. No, I mean, still very manageable. I mean, potentially they could still get the division, get their spot in the playoffs. They're probably not going to be a top tier first bye, but they'll have to play the wild card, which is most likely. So, but if he's back full, 100% under center, I don't see why they couldn't get to the conference championship.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, even when Drew Brees was in the game, they weren't looking that great. I mean, the Rams have a good defense, though. So, I don't know. I feel like the Saints are going to be just fine without Drew Brees for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, yep.
I feel like they would have been in a tough game against the Seahawks and against the Cowboys, even with Drew Brees under center. Or in shotgun, wherever he prefers to line up.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't feel like they were heavily favored to win and now they're going to lose. I feel like by the time Saints-Cowboys, let's see, the game is where? In Dallas?
Yeah.
Cowboys probably would have been a favorite to win that game anyways.
Yeah. The way the whole team's been playing out of their minds, so
crazy, yeah. But
kind of a shame though we won't get to see that full, potential matchup with him in the missing.
Right. Because last year that was a great game.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's continue on because there's way more injuries that we need to talk about in the NFL. One that actually does make quite a huge difference, even though they were going to be bad. Now they're going to be absolute shit. Ben Roethlisberger.